I started a band, did that for years and years, and then finally it was just like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do it right. I had dropped out of high school, I had committed everything, I had been homeless for years. It was nothing but a pair of sticks that were duct taped together, and a drum set and a skateboard were all I had, and so I was in for life, it was like no looking back. I needed to make it happen. And I started a band, my friends and I had a lot of things go on at the time, and so I started a band and I named it Used, with 3 friends of mine, and we were looking around for a singer, and this guy Bert that had sang for some local bands was a great singer, sang for a hardcore band. We knew he could scream like no one else, and so we asked him to kind of try out for our band, and it was incredible what the 4 of us had, our chemistry. And around the same time, the band Refused, the video of their song New Noise was surfacing, and we had stumbled upon that. And I remember Quinn, the guitarist of the Used, him and I found this video online, and we watched this music video of New Noise, and that was one of those like pivotal moments in my life that changed me completely. Like seeing like these guys that were dressed like the Beatles, and yet playing what seemed to be hardcore, but was so different, and there were like these electronic elements and everything. It was exactly the song title. It was New Noise, and it was perfect, and it struck a nerve inside me and inside Quinn that resonated different than any punk rock or hardcore or any music had ever done for us. And right then we literally went and wrote a song together, and later that song was titled Maybe Memories, and it was the opening song on the first Used record. And if you listen to that song, you can hear the Refused influence, what I mean? But so we just kind of took a totally different turn with our writing, and our approach to music was just like, instead of trying to emulate these bands we loved so much, these punk bands, and whether he was obsessed with Radiohead and I was obsessed with Rancid and Social Distortion and The Clash and Rage Against the Machine and Nirvana and all these like rad bands, and he was like into arty stuff, and our bass player was into weird stuff, and everybody came from different areas. But instead of trying to like write a song that sounded like one band and another one that sounded like another one, we finally let all that go and just let it influence us rather than trying to emulate it, and that became the sound that was the Used. I recorded like some home demos on an 8-track I had, and I submitted them to a producer who was just green, brand new producer, John Feldman, who sang for a band Goldfinger that I was a big fan of. He had only produced like 2 bands that had been signed to that point, and they were both pop punk bands, but I was just recording these songs, and I started emailing them to him, and he liked them and hit me up one day and was like, hey, I want to bring your band out and produce a few songs for you guys. And we were flipping out. I remember getting that call, and it was unreal. We were all freaking out. I mean, we came from a small town in Utah. There had never been a signed band in Utah State history. You know what I mean? Like, there was a band called Iceburn that signed to Revelation Records, and Donnie and Marie Osmond. Other than that, there's no claim to fame for Utah State, and so the idea that this Los Angeles producer was hitting us up to record us was unheard of, like unreal. So we went out to LA, recorded Maybe Memories, a song called The Taste of Ink that we wrote about being in Utah and just kind of feeling like you're nowhere and whatever, but then we rewrote the chorus when we got to LA and we were recording. We rewrote the chorus about being there and the fact that might be as good as it gets, and we just wanted to literally savor every moment of it, and so it was a real humility song where we were just so grateful for this opportunity, and we didn't expect much, like we were just loving what we were doing. A couple other songs we did that started getting shopped around, and before we knew it, we had a dozen labels trying to sign us, and it was a crazy whirlwind. And we ended up signing with Warner Brothers. We made our debut album with John Feldman, and everything ever since then has been a whirlwind. I put out 2 full-length records with the Used and 2 live DVDs, and had an incredible career, you know, sold millions of records worldwide with the Used, and I love it. That was some of the best years of my life, you know. Unfortunately, around 2006, our differences in lifestyles caught up with us. You know, we had decided we were using 2 tour buses at the time, and we made one the sober tour bus, and one was the party tour bus. You know, circumstances would have it that it led to me being the only sober member of the band, and everybody else was partiers, you know. So it was like me and some crew guys on the sober bus, and everybody else in the band and a couple partier crew guys on the other bus, and it just started to build a wall that we didn't intend to build, but it created a separation between of us, unfortunately. And then later in 2006, we were about to make a record, and you know, our guitarist at the time just was at a point where he felt like he wanted someone more like them in the band, someone that, you know, I was engaged to my girlfriend at the time, and they were all just kind of single and living it up and partying and doing their thing. They wanted someone more like them, was what I was told, and that I was too different. So I sadly was fired from that band. It totally broke my heart. I didn't expect it. You know, I'm so heavily involved in the business and everything about the band's career, and making it everything it could be while maintaining the integrity and the importance of what we loved about our music and our band and our career, you know. So I was heartbroken and really kind of at a loss where, you know, if my brothers, my bandmates, you know, the producer, our manager, my label, if everybody could allow that kind of thing to happen and actually back that kind of decision, I figured that was an industry I didn't want to have a part of. You know, I was so heartbroken and so crushed, you know, that, you know, my best interest was always for the band and our career and longevity and integrity, you know, and passion and the love for the music. Like, never mind the sex, drugs, and whatever. I just wanted to rock and roll, you know. And so it was so heartbreaking, and there was a couple months right there that was a really, you know, since the loss of my father, that was some of the hardest time of my life. But I did have a small handful of people that were lifesavers to me, you know. People's true colors really came out. Suddenly I wasn't Branden from the Used, I was just Branden. And it's surprising how many people you lose because of that, because I didn't suddenly have that title to something.